We are live now. Thank you, Joshua, for your patience with me trying to share it online. Thank you for this meeting with me in this very special day, which is the winter solstice for us in Australia and Argentina, and summer solstice for you guys in the Northern Hemisphere, United States. How are you today?
I'm so excited because I had such a great experience speaking to you the last time. So I'm excited to see where we're going to go this time.
Absolutely. That was a few years ago. If anyone wants
Hmm.
to watch that other interview that happened in 2019, is there
Wow.
in the YouTube page and in the in the Facebook page as well. So it's very juicy content that Joshua has shared with us back then. Joshua, for those who still don't know you or only have heard your name, if you want to introduce yourself and what's your work for humanity in this life?
My name is Joshua Shapiro, and I would say most people know me as a crystal skull explorer because I've done a lot of interviews, I've written books, I've been involved with having contact with the crystal skulls for over 40 years, since 1983 when I met my first one. And but of course, I'm your typical Aries. I want to know the truth about everything. So I study anything that looks interesting for me. I welcome new experiences. I welcome to talk to people who know about things I have no clue about. So, so it's like I'm a jack of all trades. I want to study everything because if somebody was going to say, okay, Joshua, who are you? Well, I know spiritually I'm a cosmic wanderer. A cosmic wanderer was defined by George Hunt Williamson in the early 1950s. I was born in 1955, so I find that interesting. A cosmic wanderer is a soul who has traveled from world to world, uplifting those worlds into the light. So why wouldn't I be here on the earth at this very important time to help humanity to go towards total peace and harmony? And by the way, I know you're going to ask me some questions about this, and I need to let you know I've had two profound experiences that show me absolutely, without any doubt whatsoever, we are headed in that direction. So I will talk about that when you get to me. So, I'm an author. I get to do these great interviews. Sometimes I'm traveling. I'm doing presentations, sharing with people different information. Um, I'm just trying to keep myself entertained and busy because if I talk to other people who are Aries, we get bored too easily. If we don't have some challenge or something new or exciting, we get bored. Like, for example, I live near Orlando, Florida, and there's been, weeks where there's nobody for me to go out and meet. There's no lectures to give. There's no meetings to go to. And I'm just sitting in my room. So what am I going to do? I'm going to get on the internet and see who's there that I can talk to, that I call is soul family. Um, so I would say this is basically who I am. Uh, you're going to ask me a question about one of my crystal skulls. So when I answer that question, then I will define what they are in case there are people who don't know or they didn't see the fourth installment of the Indiana Jones film where there were 13 crystal skulls that showed up. So I'll wait for that. But I'm into UFOs too. To me, I know that we cannot be the only intelligent life in this universe. I know that there's other intelligent beings. Some of them talk to me telepathically. Some of them know me because I'm a cosmic wanderer. So, there's a lot happening in our world to be discovered. And I'm one of those guys that, when I hear about something interesting, I check it out. And then what I believe is my role is I share the most interesting, profound, powerful information I can. And then I just let people decide for themselves, like what has value for them. Okay. Because I think my contact with the crystal skulls, they've changed me vibrationally. So for an Aries, I'm much more calm and peaceful than some other Aries I knew. I stay in the neutral. I try to be a peacemaker. I don't judge people. I let people go the route they go. And a lot of times because I work with my gifts, I would say my strongest gifts is I feel energy, I sense energy, and I telepathically hear things. I don't totally share with people everything that I get unless I'm given permission. Okay, or unless it's somebody like you who I know very well and soul family, and we just give ourselves permission to share whatever comes up. But so I would say that's kind of who I am. Now, before I forget, there are 9 free ebooks that I have been offering to people since COVID started. So if people email me, and I'm sure you'll ask me for that information at the end, I'm happy to give them. I was just on another class and I opened up my mouth for 1 minute and said, "Oh, I've been involved with crystal skulls," and 4 people asked me for a copy of my free ebook on crystal skulls. So I'm happy to share that. And, I have a website that people can go to. And also, I'm talking to a lot of people all over the world using my Zoom room. So if somebody feels an affinity, they want to continue a discussion with me, they shouldn't think, oh, Joshua's so busy or whatever. No, I have time, and I find it's very important right now to be speaking to people and comparing our understanding and notes. So that's kind of who I am. That would be what I would say.
I'm gonna share your email address and website. The website is in the description of the Facebook event. However, I'm
Okay.
gonna share it once more when we finish the video in the final post.
Okay.
Regarding what you mentioned before about the cosmic wonder or being a cosmic wonder, for me, that's important because I have many clients. I do hypnotherapy, past life regression therapy, Akashic records, and many of my clients, they are cosmic wonders like you. And maybe it's not the majority of people, maybe it's not the mass, but the small group that is out there, and they identify as cosmic wonders, or they were told by the spirit guides that that's where that curiosity comes from, and also that need of contributing to the world, sharing their skills, sharing their gifts. That was one of the main reasons why I called Joshua, because I believe that it's important to listen to others who already did a path of self-discovery and learn about how to build resiliences, especially to navigate this world, because now looks very easy when Shosha talks, looks like very easy life. I'm pretty sure he has faced many challenges to reach this point of his life. Yeah, and I know that there are many other cosmic wonders that they are quite lost at the moment. So feel free to contact Joshua to ask for the book. So maybe ask for advice or follow his Facebook page to know more about his personal life as well, because we all have personal lives, and I think that's the most difficult area for us to master in this life, how to handle and how to find a good balance between that inner call, that purpose, and at the same time building healthy relationships with others, and especially with ourselves. So but this is a space, like I was telling Joshua before we start recording the video. I propose Joshua to create together a space today for us to manifest a new timeline. And the best way to manifest a new timeline is to open our heart and connect to a specific frequency that we haven't transit before, at least in this incarnation. Maybe yes, in Asian civilizations, But that's why we are here to remember what was it like or what is it like. And Joshua has important information to share with us regarding what's that frequency we want to tune in order to create a new story that is open the doors for a golden age that we are all waiting for. That's why I know that in this topic of manifesting a new timeline with a higher frequency, I believe that Portal de Luz has a lot to do with it, or correct me if I'm wrong, Joshua. Do you want to introduce Portal de Luz for us?
So this would be an example of a modern crystal skull that's carved by a modern carver. Portal de Luz is in Portuguese or Spanish the name of the skull, but actually that was the name that was given to my ex-wife who gifted me, who was from Brazil. The skull is actually carved by a Brazilian carver, and the smoky quartz came from the ground in Brazil. And I have confirmation of that because I have a very dear friend now here in Orlando who is from Brazil. So she helps me practice my Portuguese. And when I showed her all the skulls, I said, so which one do you feel the strongest affinity for? And it was this one because it has energies from Brazil. Um, and so she felt very comfortable with him. But I watched him too, starting to transform her energy, like helping her to open up her heart chakra more and everything. So Portal de Luz is really the first major crystal skull that I personally had. He's traveled with me everywhere, and he has a living consciousness inside of him. And so this is why when I say, okay, I'm having a conversation with, I call him Portal for short, and I hear him telepathically. He speaks to me through my mind's thinking voice. And I just recognize when it's him. He always calls me dad, like I'm his father and so on. But in a lot of ways, too, from us being together since 1999, when I first received him at this conference in Sedona, um, he's kind of adopted some attributes of his guardian, of me, because when people tell me about things that happen to them when they're working with him, sometimes it sounds a little bit like me, like he's kind of adopted some of the attributes. Oh, and then let me tell you this story
Yes, please.
that will exemplify this guy, what he does, and he kind of acts crazy. Okay, I'm just trying to see. It's probably hard to totally see him. Maybe this is a little bit better because of the way he's reflecting the light. So my second wife was Vera, who is Brazilian. My third wife was Dutch. Daisy Rainbow was her name. So I don't know how much longer I can hold him. He's like 10 pounds. Okay, he's not easy, but I'll see if I can still hold him through this story. I'm going to try. This is my challenge as an Aries today. Can I hold? And will you make yourself lighter for God's sakes? So what happened is we went to Belgium and there was a group of healers who used a device called a Lequier antenna. So the easiest way to describe this device, it's like a dowsing rod. It's sensitive to energy, but it has numbers on the side. So the practitioners can measure specific frequencies of energy that they're looking for. Like with the dowsing rod, if you're looking for metal in the ground or gold or whatever, the dowsing rod will just kind of move by itself. But this device, they're looking for specific frequencies of energy. So the teacher of the students was there, and he told all the students, I don't know why you're wasting your time with this stone, with this rock. Nothing is going to happen. So the practitioners start doing measurements of energies around him, and they're amazed, and they tell their instructor, we don't believe this, but this so-called rock that you're speaking about, he is showing us the frequencies of energies of the five human senses.
Mhm.
And the teacher goes, no, that's not possible. Do it again. So they did it two more times. And all three times they measured the five human senses, the frequencies of it. So the reason I'm thinking about this experience with him, okay, so I'm gonna kind of put him down now,
Yes.
is that, you know, there's like I say, there's this living energy that seems to be connected with crystal skulls if they have been activated. And the way in which they become activated is usually how the guardian, not the owner, but the guardian works with the skull. So what have I done with Portal Duluth? Well, we've done world peace meditations together. He sits with me in all of my intuitive consultations that I do. I've taken him to sacred sites. He's been on the pyramid in Teotihuacan, the Sun Pyramid. We were there, and that pyramid, the energy almost knocked me out. It
Yeah.
was really strong, and there's no way that that pyramid could have been built by simple people. The energy, the stones, the construction is very advanced. It had to be done by a very advanced civilization in the past. Or where else have we been? We've been to Amaru Maru, which is closer to where
Ah,
you come from in Peru,
yeah.
by Lake Titicaca, the
Uh-huh.
gigantic stone door. We did a meditation in
That's one of
front, and
the planetary nodes, a very
yes,
important
okay.
one, and the third eye of the world. So, yeah.
Right. And so that
Wow.
also connects to another question you're going to ask me about later. So I will come back to that. Um, where else? We've been to Stonehenge, so I just take him to the different places. So the
Heart center of the
combination,
world.
right.
Tell
So
me,
the
tell me
combi
about that trip, if a little bit at least, when you went to Stonehenge with Portal de Luz.
well, basically all we did is we just did, some meditations around it. And I can't recall anything, like extraordinary. I just know
Yeah.
we were doing a meditation there. I think we had a better experience when we went to the British Museum and I was taking him around the British skull that was on display.
Wow.
And he went from a very light smoky to a very dark smoky because he was trying to take bad energies away from his sister skull.
Okay.
Okay. So, so I never know what's going to happen with him. So it's kind
Sorry,
of,
Joshua. Things that are not extraordinary for you, but because you have normalized many things that
yeah,
may be extraordinary for many other people, right?
right.
Did
Well,
Portal de Luz took you there, or how did you know that you were meant to go there?
which place are we talking
For
about?
instance, the Stonehenge or
Well,
the museum
it's very simple. He's like me. He wants to experience all
uh,
these different energies, of
and
course.
Arius.
But yeah, but also too, what we need to understand is that when he's collecting these energies, like when he was
Mhm.
next to the famous Mitchell Hedges crystal skull and getting energies from that skull, from his um, this very old advanced crystal skull. And then when we go travel, then he has the ability to share these energies with other people that he meets. Or then it takes me to another story in Holland where I went to a movie theater where one of the most famous Mayan elders was. He was in a documentary about 2012, the prophecy of 2012 they have. So Portal de Luz says to me, Dad, put me on this table here and don't say a word to the elder and let's see what happens. Because this elder has publicly talked about his knowledge of crystal skulls and that his people uh, in Guatemala actually are protecting some crystal skulls. Because what happened is the Europeans came to Mexico, Central America, South America, and they start stealing all these treasures and everything. So they needed to protect it.
Yeah.
So the Mayan elder saw Portal de Luz and he said, and I needed a translator to speak from Spanish into English because my Spanish isn't that good. And he said, this is one of our crystal skulls. You need to give it back to me. And I went, Grandfather, I'm sorry you're mistaken. I know the carver in Brazil who made it. This is not a very old skull. It's a modern skull. He said, no, you don't understand. So then I have another skull made by the Brazilian carver Leandro, who made Portal de Luz. Geronimo golden eagle eye, a smaller, kind of more brown smoky quartz skull, and showed it to him, and then he was quiet. So you see, what Portal de Luz was showing me is even by this time, by 2012, and I'd had him then for 13 years, he had already picked up so many incredible energies. He faked out the Mayan elder to make him think it was one of these very old crystal skulls. Okay, so I don't say the Mayan elder's name because I don't want to embarrass him. But I think what we were trying to show to the elder is no, you don't have to be a Mayan or part of an indigenous culture to be very familiar and know the crystal skulls well, because I'm positive I must have had many lifetimes working with them. It's in my DNA. They recognize me, they know me. They go, oh, there's Joshua. Okay, let's give him some more new information to share with everybody. So
And probably it potentially could be a fractal of your same energy as well.
anything's possible. I don't know. I learn
Joshua,
about myself all the time.
it's now Portal de Luz sharing his energy with us, even if we are not there, physically close.
Well, for me, I can link into him even if I don't have him near me. There have been people who, after they've met him, he's been communicating with them. So usually what happens is he makes a contact, and then for some people, not everyone, the contact will continue somehow. I think there was one person who had such an amazing contact with him, thought we were supposed to give him this crystal skull. So, we just don't know. But if he ever was to tell me that I'm to pass him on, I would do so. But I believe that he's waiting. I'm holding the energy for a spiritual center, which I've had visions of. It's called the Center for the Advancement of Humanity. And I believe that when the new financial system comes, which is in the process of happening, that once the humanitarian and spiritual projects will then be supported by tremendous funds, I'll build the center, and this will literally become his new home. And I keep seeing visions of many tours we will do with indigenous elders all over the planet with the crystal skulls in order to do meditation, ceremony, education, letting people have contact in their own personal experiences with it. So I have a lot of visions of the future. So I'm trying to be a patient Aries and not go crazy trying to initiate things that there's nothing I can do about it. It's totally in divine's hands when it's the perfect time for these things to happen. Like us getting together again 5 years
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, it's interesting because when we met before, it was just before another big change that took place in Earth. We met
Yeah,
in 2019 before the many
COVID.
things that happened in
Yeah,
2020, right?
yeah,
Which is normal that star seeds get prepared always. Even a few years before the cosmic events and the events in the akasha that will trigger massive change for humanity and the collective consciousness. So that doesn't
yeah.
surprise me. But I believe that if we are meeting again today, and the reason of this meeting is to talk about the new Earth coming, probably we're very close to a big shift that will take place very soon, like before.
No, I can comment on that because I've been seeing some really crazy things happen within the last few months. So I've had three strange activities that have happened to me recently, and I'm meeting what I call soul family, which would be people who are on a spiritual path, but I have a really strong heart connection. Like I feel that with you,
Me
us
too.
connecting, we're not dead strangers. We know each other on a spiritual level. That's why you invite me and trust me, and I always go, "Oh, you're inviting me again. Great. I love it." So if I may, I want to talk briefly about these three strange things that have happened to me
Yes, please.
recently, which is now leading me into what's happening now here in June, which is leading me to believe that what you just said about change is happening soon. So if I say all these things, then it might make a little bit of sense. So the first strange thing that happened to me was in April. My birthday's on April 17th. I just turned 69, but I feel like I'm in my 30s inside, basically your age, okay? Um, my roommate came up to me and said, "Do you know there's money sitting on your car window?" And I go, "What are you talking about?" Now I was sick that weekend, so I hadn't really gone out and driven or anything. So this was a Monday morning. So I went out to look, and sure enough, there was $11 on my windshield, but it was on the right side of my car. Now, first let's talk about how could it have gotten there. Then I'll talk about the significance of the number and it being on the right side. So there was only one person outside of my roommates. I'm renting a room here in this house. The person who owns it, he's very spiritual, so we get along. We're brothers. We have great conversations at different times. Um, so none of my roommates would have done this, okay? So there's only one other person who could have done this, and that would be my wife, Katrina, who unfortunately she passed in November. She's in spirit, but she's right here next to me listening to
I
everything.
know.
She, yeah, she's very powerful. She says she's in the angelic realm, so I hear her. So she may make some comments. So if I look over here or I say, Katrina, be quiet or something, it's because she's talking to me. But her son, I don't wish to diminish him, but he actually did me a favor, said to me after she passed, I can't really deal with your crystal skulls. And he heard me speaking to my friend Spring, where Katrina was speaking through her and explaining to me why it was important for her to pass at this time, because I will admit it. I'm a strong Aries and I can deal with most things, but this totally shook me. I still have a little bit of grief of her passing. I've had a lot of tears. I'm not holding back. I'm not ashamed to be vulnerable. And so I started a new life. Very soon it's going to be 7 months since she passed. But it's okay. But anyway, her son said, "You need to leave in 2 months. I can't deal with this." He's very Christian, and he purchased the house through money received from his grandmother who had passed away, I guess, about a year or so ago. So I kept looking on Facebook because on Facebook they have this section where people can say we have rooms for rent and everything. And I was getting totally frustrated because I couldn't find anything. And then on the very last day when he wanted me to move, I saw this ad and it was a house only 3 blocks away from him, from where he lived in the same home complex. So I met Jose and we got along great. And so 2 days later, I'm moving in and he's helping me out. Um, so anyway, he
Things
would be
always
the
happen for
only,
a reason.
well, yes, of course. And of course,
Even
I'm
things
very
that in
happy.
the surface look negative, but
Right. Well, it
it's
was
just the
really
rational
driving
mind
me,
not understanding. Yeah.
right. It was driving me crazy. And I was kind of like panicking, because I don't know, there's something about me where when I have to make a change, I don't know if it's a psychological condition or something, but I can't deal with it too. I'm not able to deal with it totally calmly. Okay. It's like
Hmm.
I need to energetically get used to it. Like energetically now, I'm used to being here, so I'm totally comfortable. And I'm living my life and doing everything, and it's perfect. But anyway, so the reason I'm bringing it up is he was the only one in that time, because this was before I had my party here for my birthday, where I invited some of my local spiritual family to come. He was the only one who knew where I lived. Okay. Nobody else in the Orlando area, people that I was talking, they didn't know where I lived because they never visited me. Okay, so I called him up and he said, "No, I didn't put it there." So it's still a mystery. Where did this come from? Was it Katrina from Spirit pushing this into our reality? That's a possibility. Was it the galactics? I call them the galactics, not ETs, that put that there as a sign. Was it the positive humanity that's working to create peace, which people call the White Hats or the Alliance? Were they giving me a message? Oh, we know you, Joshua, and we're very happy with what you're doing because the money was on the right side of the car. I'm on the right side of things. Okay. And the number 11 is a master number, and it's also connected with angels. So I can't say for certain from an earth logical perspective where it came from, but it sure was a very powerful, subtle sign. Okay. It wasn't that I needed that money, but it was just like, 11, so it's interesting. So then after my birthday, I went with the friend who had channeled Katrina, who explained to me her family from home needed her, and also she could help us more from spirit, with this manifestation of the Aquarians. Actually, she keeps saying to me, how are we working differently now? The only difference is I, as a Capricorn woman who helped to organize you, okay, and do
Mm,
all that for you. I'm not there to do that, but I have a Brazilian friend now who's helping me with these things, like an assistant. But as far as, energizing the crystal skulls that we sell to people, I just put them in the right hand and she just moves in because she says our connection is like quantum entanglement. It doesn't
mm,
matter where I am, it doesn't matter where she is, we're always connected. Okay. And so I call this the Katrina boost. So she puts in extra energies. And you know what? After I started to do that with her, not one person has ever complained about the crystal skulls that I've sent to them. Okay. Everybody loves the skull. Like another person just received their crystal skull. I sent them on Monday today in California, said she loves the skull, but she hasn't had time really to work with it yet. So, so I went with my friend who had received her information, explaining to me, trying to calm me down, because I did not expect her to go this fast. I thought I could help her with her cancer, find alternative things,
mm,
but she just went. I just didn't expect it. I mean, she was warning me. She said, I'm going before my birthday, and she did. She
mm.
went before her birthday last year. So, so anyway, um, okay, I'm going to admit to your viewers, because he said we're all human. Okay,
Of
there's
course.
one aspect
I
of
I
my
love
new
you sharing this because that's the reality. We all have
right,
challenges, to manage. The
right,
person
well,
that doesn't have any challenge is not real.
right, right. Well, people think it's funny when I talk to her when I'm doing my lecture, and they see me talking. Okay, so
But Joshua, you're also teaching, right? Because we may not sometimes we believe we teach certain things that we put in a PowerPoint presentation or in a PDF, book for others to read. But what we really teach 24/7 is with our own energy, with the way we connect to people, because people observe us all the time.
right,
And I think the real teachings comes from that, from how we face life every day and build relationships and
right,
thrive in this planet. So
right.
when you
So
talk to your wife, you may inspire many others who miss
have a loved one.
their loved
Yeah,
ones and may give it a
yeah,
try and see
right.
what happened.
Right. So I had my friend Spring, who's a medium.
Yeah.
So we went to the beach, okay, because Katrina was after me to do this. She knows that I'm a homebody and I'm not an earth person like she was. She would go to the beach every week. So I went to her favorite beach here in Orlando, and I went with my friend Spring. And so part of the reason I wanted to go with Spring is because I wanted to talk to Katrina again about this one part of my new life that was like driving me crazy, and very challenging. And so she gave me some insights. So basically, what's driving me crazy, which never happened to me ever before in my life, is for some reason every woman, because I was with Katrina most like every day. I don't have a companion now to go out and do fun things. Yes, I have
Mm.
soul family here, Sometimes we go out and eat dinner. I just had a lunch with another person I just met who's part of this new group I'm doing. So that's fantastic. But you need a companion to go out and do some fun things or just to talk or something, female companionship. And every single woman that I've talked to or they've given me their email, they don't answer me. It's like driving me insane. So I wanted to ask Katrina, through spring again, is something coming up or what is this? So she basically said that a special person may be coming like at the end of the year, but there's nothing I can do about it to speed it up, to go find her or anything. It's just going to be organic. I'll be in the same place she is or whatever. So, but while we were talking about this, then we were looking at this guy over at the beach. And actually, there was a ship in one of the clouds, and it sent an energy at me when I was just kind of like resting, looking down. And I looked up and I looked right at the cloud, and I could feel again through my gift of energy. Oh, yeah, there's something in that cloud. So it's getting my attention to the sky. So then there were these two very thin, slightly curved clouds, which I would call wisps, which could be what the angels manifest in order to do a healing energy on the earth in the physical. And they start changing shape and moving around. And I saw a face in one, and then one of them became almost like it was a living being in the sky. I don't think anybody else saw any of this. Okay. No, whether it was because I was sitting with Spring or we had our crystal skulls there because my skulls say anytime I go to the beach, Dad, take us to the beach. We want to be cleansed by the water of the ocean. So we had already done that. We had already taken our skulls out, let the water, the waves come over and do all of that. But then there was this really strange manifestation of the clouds in the sky. And then the third thing that came up was in May, and I think Katrina's been helping me. I've had this mad compulsion to friend all these people that I feel a very strong connection with. It's like people I don't know, but I look at their picture and I go, wow, this is an amazing person. I'm going to friend them. Okay. And so I'm pretty sure she guided me to friend this lady here in Orlando who turned out to be the organizer for an expo that's in the city I live. And I thought there was nothing happening in the city I live from a spiritual perspective. And all of a sudden there's this expo. And I said, do you have space for somebody to talk about crystal skulls? And it's like this lady, Maciel, said, 2 weeks ago, I was receiving messages about crystal skulls. Yes, I do. So now I'm like really close friends with her. And actually with my friend Luciana, who's my kind of like assisting me with the projects here, we went over to their place because Luciana hasn't really met a lot of spiritual people. So I'm introducing her to all the soul family here in Orlando. So these three things were kind of like showing to me our reality is shifting and spirit is doing these subtle changes to our reality. It's bringing people together. It's changing the reality around us. So it was like something is going on. Something is happening. Some change is manifesting. And because I'm open to my spiritual gifts, I'm seeing these things. Um, and then the last few weeks, as I've been meeting Soul Family, it's going insane. I'm meeting so many people, even I as an Aries who can deal with many different things at the same time, I can't keep up with it. Okay, it's like blowing my mind. And then the other thing that's happened, oh God, all right, this is a more of the story. I just wrote about this on Facebook, by the way. I had an opportunity when I met Katrina early on, like right when our relationship started, which was about 15 years ago in Atlanta, to go to a spiritual center in Key West, which is the last island in Florida of the Keys. Okay. And I'm amazed that these islands still exist because the water comes up over them periodically at different times. And we went to the center because the Atlantean crystal ball was being shared there. Okay. And so again, what did I talk about in the beginning? Any new experience, I want to meet the crystal ball. I want to see how the energy of the crystal ball compares to the energy like of Portal de Luz or all these crystal skulls that I'm seeing, right? So we went there. We got there too late to have a session with the guardian who brought the ball. But what he did is he said, for those of you who can't do a session, let's do a circle meditation and I'll be behind you doing a healing. So we were able to do that. But he knew I had crystal skulls. And he came up to me and said, please take all your crystal skulls away from the ball. I don't want it to interfere in the energy. So being the respectful person I am, I did that, except I put one little tiny one in my pocket. Okay, so then he does this like healing thing, and that's great and everything. So I'm just sitting there. And then all of a sudden he comes up to me and he says, hold your hands out like this. And he puts the crystal ball in my right hand. Ever since that day, the energy of that ball, it's here. It integrated into my hand. As a matter of fact, I remember there was a woman I met in England after that, where I just said, if you want to experience it, and she did. And then the ball came into her hand also. So for some people, it transferred. Now, this is very important because a couple of years ago, the ball went to Mount Shasta to a spiritual center there, which I've spoken at, and it exploded. It's gone. It doesn't exist. So I'm just happy that I have it. But here's the key thing, which is the other strange thing that's happening to me now, is the ball gave me a vision. And in the vision, I don't know where I was, but I saw three people in front of me, and they were like standing to their back to me. I didn't see their face. So there was a man, there was a woman who was a little bit taller than the man, and a little girl, or a little child, but I felt like it was a little girl. So I thought this was a vision for Katrina and I that maybe we would have a child, adopt a child or something. That never happened. So still to this day, I've never had any children, right? But after Katrina passed, I have a voice that speaks to me. Sometimes I just call it the voice. It said, Joshua, you're wrong. It wasn't showing you of something that was going to happen with Katrina. It's part of your future that hasn't happened yet.
There you go.
And you were the man there, the woman you don't know yet, but that child, her spirit is around me within the past 2 weeks. And she's saying, Dad, I'm coming next year. I said, if you're coming next year, that means the lady I saw in the vision is got to be coming soon too. Okay, so this is my new adventure. So I have no idea how this is going to work out. I have no idea who the woman is. I can sort of project and connect just a little bit with somebody, but they're not letting me see anything. There's a lady who does drawings of soulmates. I'm tempted to pay her to see what picture she comes up with. I don't know. And I put up this whole experience on Facebook because I thought, because Spirit keeps telling me you're friending these people because somebody you're friending is going to know this lady. Okay, so it's so strange things are happening. But the bottom line is, if all of this is going on, this is how the new world is going to be. These are the kind of things
Yeah.
that are going to happen to all of us. That means that something major is getting ready very soon to take place. I'm sure of it. It has to happen this year. We cannot continue living under all the false systems that we were taught since we were children. They are dying. They are going away. And all it takes is one major spiritually orientated event. And like a domino, all of a sudden, everything could just start opening up. I personally think my guess would be our galactic brothers and sisters are going to do something because their ships are here. They're cloaked. I think the Pleiadians might be the ones that, may do something so profound that it cannot be, like only a few people see it. No, everybody in the world is going to see something. And you can't go on the news and say, well, everyone, what you just saw, Well, this was a movie. They figured out how to do it all over the world. No, nobody's going to buy this, okay? And especially if the Pleiadians show themselves and they start talking with us, and we start touching them, and we see that they're real and they're not imaginary, okay? So anyway, I know I got carried away with all my stories,
No, 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 no,
but I
no. I just want to add something on regarding
yeah,
what you share. I invite everyone watching this to do the same exercise that Joshua did, thinking about the different weird things that happened to him in the last 7 months and write it down, because if we don't stop to reflect on that things that happen to us that feel like something we didn't plan rationally, things that come out of the blue, and we find ourselves trying to manage the situation in the best way, sometimes not in the best way, sometimes complaining, like becoming very upset with things that we plan differently and things and that bring into our life very challenging experiences. But what if you look back at without blaming yourself, if you have reacted in a very bad way to that unexpected events, it's okay, like that's normal. But now you have a possibility to review that now that you're more relaxed and see, well, how that experience that wasn't great when I experienced it in first time, but what opportunities of growth brought it to me, how the experiences expand our consciousness, our awareness, because that's what it is. The experiences, even opportunities as participating of an expo, money, relationships, the only thing that the experiences will give you is an opportunity to expand your consciousness, your awareness. It's the only way to how measure the impact of the experiences on us, how much you have changed since that success um, to your present moment, to the here and now. And in the equinox, sorry, in the solstice, not equinox, in the solstice context, the energy we have today that um, marks a change. Like maybe the change happening today is something you won't measure tonight or tomorrow for Joshua, because it's still 20 of June in United States. Here we are already on the 21st. Like I said before, in the moment we experience the shift of energy, you may not really measure the impact. Even if you try to do it, it's not easy. You'll do like maybe 2 or 3 months later. So the change happening today is something that we may not notice next week. But surely in 3 months, we will look backwards and we're like, I see now. Yes. And surely in one more year, we will look backwards and we're like, oh my goodness, I'm not anymore that person. With that person, like she's or he's gone. Yes. Talking about yourself, because you will see that you're peeling off layers that are no longer needed. So in that context, Joshua, I want you to share with us what our world could be like when we follow a path of peace and harmony. When we pay attention to that synchronicities, like you told us before, and what's the words that you envision for the future? What you were told by the spirit, but the Portal de Luz, the schools, um, and also based on what you learn about the Tartarian civilization, because I know you wrote a book about it. I actually read it because you sent it to me, and also the things that the teachings you received by many indigenous leaders from the world that you have met, and that's very valuable information. And the activations, because sometimes we meet people and it's not really what the person tells you. Again, you won't measure your growth and by what information, linear information, they pass into you. But in a few months after that meeting, you will see the impact on you from the activations that take place when people meet each other. So saying it simple, you watch this conversation between Joshua and I, or you go to a workshop, and the real benefit of that meeting, it's vibrational, it's energy, activations of your own past lives and your own DNA beyond of what you can the actual information that was given to you. So I believe that Joshua received a lot of activations in this life. So Joshua, please share with us what our world, what's the cosmic destiny for us in the next 50 years, let's say.
Hey, you realize you asked me three different questions, right?
Oh yeah.
You asked me about what do I think we're moving toward, which I
Mhm.
can answer because I've had two profound experiences to show me to some degree what this future will be like. You asked me about Tartaria, and you asked me about what I learned from the indigenous people. So I'm going to attempt to do all three of those questions.
I think they
Okay,
all
the
relate
first,
to each other.
well,
Somehow.
of course, they're all interconnected, but
Yeah.
they're looking at things from a different perspective. So
Mm.
first, let me talk about these two profound experiences I have, which, by the way, of course, as a writer, I have a free ebook
Oh yeah.
called Messages from Argus, which is my name in the future in this lifetime. At least this is what Argus has told me, which I will explain in a moment. Uh, where what I'm talking about, I write in more detail if somebody's interested. So the first experience I want to move to is what I call my coma experience. This happened to me in 2000 after I had moved to Las Vegas from San Francisco. I'm minding my own business, walking from a McDonald's to go to my car. And this is in Las Vegas. And by the way, in Las Vegas, they let you drive in the city like 50 miles an hour or something.
Mm.
So I, all I know is I hear this loud screech behind me, and the next thing I know, I'm waking up and I'm strapped down in a hospital bed. Okay. So what happened and how did I get there and so on. So what I learned was a van was going too fast and jumped the curb and hit me from behind. See, I'm fearless. I think I'm always protected. So I didn't do anything special, you know. Now, this probably saved me because I didn't see that I was going to be hit, which I was. If I would have seen this car coming at me, my subconscious would have taken over and I either would be dead or I would have a serious injury. As it was, the only problem I had when I came out of the coma was my ankle was kind of like sprained or something, and the back of my neck was really uh, tight, and I was very low energy. You know, it's like I could only go like to 1 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which was pretty amazing because right after this happened, I was invited to Brazil and I got to speak in front of 5,000 people at a conference about crystal skulls and UFOs. And it's still the most people I've ever spoken to live. So, um, so the key thing to understand during the coma experience is after I came back, I started to have some memory of what happened to me and why I agreed. I agreed before I was born to let this happen to me, but I was told I would be protected. Okay, so this is the reason why I said, okay, what I need to do while I'm in a coma, which means I'm out of my body in my light body or in a different dimension, was so important. I'm going to accept this.
Sure.
Now, since I wasn't in my body, they had to strap me down to a bed because the wandering souls in the hospital said, "Oh, look, he's there's nobody there. Let's go in there and do whatever we want to do." Okay. So the way I experienced this is I heard a loud screech behind me. my vision went from white to black. And then I woke up 2 days later and a doctor saying, "Do you remember the truck that hit you?" And I have no idea what he's talking about. And then a day later, I woke up totally. Okay, so I was in this coma for 3 days. So here's what I remembered that happened to me. I was at some kind of a meeting. And the only way I can describe this meeting is if anyone has seen, the Star Wars movie, but the first one in the series, not the first one that came out in the 70s, but the first one in the series, where Princess Amidala goes to the head planet of the Republic where they're all meeting, all the beings from all the worlds are meeting, like our United Nations. I was in a room like this with beings from all over the place.
Mm.
And my sensing about why I was there was because these beings loved humanity and they wanted to help us to create peace, but they don't live here. So they don't know if their ideas, well, we could do this, but how is humanity going to respond to that? So I'm there giving feedback. Okay,
Sorry,
because
Joshua. Were them the Galactic Federation?
I don't know who they
Okay.
were. Okay,
Okay.
they don't allow me to remember very
Oh,
much
I
about
see.
them.
I see.
Okay. I just know I'm in this room with all
Yes.
these beings, and there's like a 3D thing. And so the
Yep.
bottom line is, I saw everything that was going to happen to our world when I was there, but they blanked my memory
Hmm.
because if I started talking to people about what would be coming up, this would interfere with individual karma and planetary karma. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because we still have to go through certain things. Even if we don't like
Mm-hmm.
what's happening in our world, we still have to go through it.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, when it was my time to come back, I complained very loudly. And I was just told, I was told by kind of like this man, there was like this door in front of me. It was totally black. And I knew when I go through the door, I come back to the earth or I go back into my body. He said to me, "You're not allowed to remember the future. However, in your present, as things are going on, you'll know what's true and what's not true because you saw it here."
Yeah.
Okay.
True.
So that's the first thing. So I already know from that, but I can't tell you how we go from where we are today to this future, that we will have a planet of total peace and total harmony. Nothing can stop this. It's divinely already decided. That means Creator has
Hmm.
already decided this. His angels are already working for this. Our galactic brothers and sisters are already working for us. People like you who are starseed volunteered to come here knowing that this plan for this particular Earth, because there are parallel Earths that they don't go through this process. Okay, some of them have already destroyed themselves. Some of them will destroy themselves. Some of them already have total peace. They've already gone through it and it's done. Every conceivable possibility already exists. But for this particular Earth, the light has already won by this point in time, even though we don't see it outwardly. And it's just a question of time before major events start happening, like what I talked about before. So this was the first experience. The second experience is when I was living with Katrina in Atlanta in her daughter's house, which her grandmother had paid for, because uh, on the ex-husband side, the family was fairly wealthy. So that's how Katrina's son was able to buy this house here in Florida because he got an inheritance for it. Um, so I'm in that house and I'm, in the room where I'm sitting by my computer and I pick up this guide like on the right side of me and I go and I can sense this presence. Okay, sometimes I can sense presences. Like Katrina, it's an automatic, and there are a few other guides that are automatic around me. So I go, "Who are you?" "Oh, I'm Archus." "Well, who are you, Archus? Why are you appearing?" "Oh, I'm you, Joshua, in your future in this lifetime." "What? How can that be? How can you already be me?" He said, "Well, on the level of spirit, time and space don't exist, right? So the past, the present, and the future are all happening in a simultaneous now." It's
Joshua,
just,
sorry. Can I interrupt you just a second to share very little about myself, just to agree with you very, very
sure,
quickly.
of course.
In one of the most difficult times that I experienced, like emotionally in this life, from the many difficult times that I lived in this life, but this one was quite yeah, deep in 2020. Um, I made many decisions, personal decisions, based on what myself from the future told me about my future. And I just want to agree with you and support what you are saying. And that's because I actually have never ever shared this with not even my friends. Because how do you share this with your friends? You know, even they are the spiritual, it still is a lot of. Because I
Mhm.
said this because back in that time, I made decisions that even my closest friend or even the spiritual advanced people who will give me advice, they wouldn't see they wouldn't see things that were coming to my life that myself from the future told me. And when I was talking to these spiritual friends who wanted to give me advice on how manage life, that I'm extremely thankful because I know they did it from their heart, yeah, but they couldn't tune in. Even with their advanced skills, they couldn't tune in with what was actually going to happen 2 years later, that in 2020 sound crazy what I was sharing. And I was like, I know this sounds crazy, but I know this gonna happen. They were like, no chance, no chance. You need to ground. This is your illusion. But I stick to what myself from the future who will come to me in dreams and walking in the room when I was in the living room of my place. I will see her. I'll see how she looks like. I hear her, and I knew it was me, but different. The things that she told me, all of them became truth. And I'm so glad I followed her advice. So I just wanted to share this to
Great. Well, it's
be
great
like,
to have
what he's saying is
confirmation.
true.
Right.
Continue.
So, okay, so naturally, if you're going to talk to your future self knows everything that's happened, right? So I asked him, I said, Argis, so you're going to tell me, like what's coming up and all this? No, I'm sorry, I can't tell you nothing. Well, what? Well, then why are you appearing to me? You're wasting my time. I want to know what's going to happen, right? He said, look, you have to go through all those experiences because eventually you become me. And so if I
Yeah.
tell you everything, you can't become me. Okay. But knowing that I exist, you already know that we're
Mm-hmm.
going to have this total peace and harmony because through his eyes, I'm allowed to see sort of what that world looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. They
And
wouldn't tell you how to get there. It's like a glimpse of a potential. Yeah. Because they
right,
didn't tell me every detail, but then the rest of was my homework. So yeah, you're right.
right, right. So then I asked Argus, I said, okay, so what about this center, which I haven't created yet? I'm holding the energy. I have, a Telegram group for it. Um, what else do I have? I don't have a Facebook. Oh yeah, Rumble channel for the interviews that we've done, and new website that's going to be up pretty soon. Um, so does it still exist? He says, what are you crazy? It's all over the world here. He said, that's why they don't want you to leave Florida right now, because
Mm.
you have to get it started. Okay, because I already have friends in other places. In Australia, too, I have a woman, Grandmother Rainbow, who's holding the energy for a sister center to be in Australia. And I've also made contact with another friend, Michael Ney, who has Beyond Being Human. He's out of Sydney. It's very interesting. All of a sudden, I'm having all these contacts from Australia. This medium that wanted to channel Portal de Luz, that's on my Facebook page too. Everybody loves this interview I had with her. Uh, Her energy got so strong. I had to have her put crystals around her, otherwise we couldn't do the interview. Her computer kept shutting down, the battery died. So pretty amazing. So anyway, because of my coma experience, because Argus is showing me what the future looks like, which I will talk about here in a moment, what I see through him. I know with absolute certainty we are headed in this direction. We do not need to know how it's going to happen. We do not need to know when certain things are going to happen. But we, as spiritual people, so Katrina's like waving me on this one point, so it's Portal de Luz. We need to hold the energy of hope and absolute knowing that this is our future because our friends and family, number one, they're being controlled by lies and fear. Number two, they're going to be in shock when the full truth starts coming out, which could happen at any moment of time. So
Sure.
this is very important. I'm talking about what's really going on behind the scene, that the history we know, which links into the Tartaria, I'm going to go into in a little bit here, is completely false. Even the nature of our world, I do not believe that we've been taught properly what happened. There is a very good chance that some of the galactics we know are living on an extension of our world which we do not know exists, which is beyond Antarctica. That's all I'm going to say on it because the full theory is completely controversial, and I've lost friends because they know I believe that. So, so what Argus has showed me is that the adults are parents to all the children within kind of like communities. There's no more countries anymore. There's no more wars. Galactic beings are walking amongst us. The children totally accept it. People are dancing and singing in the street. There's total joy. There is none of the things, the challenges we have today exist. We have different challenges. And those challenges are, what do you want to do with your life? What makes your heart sing? What do you wish to contribute to humanity? Are you
Mhm.
willing to go explore the other worlds from our galactic brothers and sisters? I mean, it's like almost unbelievable and unimaginable what it's going to be like. Katrina's saying, even if you were to do a meditation and try to imagine in your mind what a peaceful world would look like, you can't even come close to what it's going to look like when we get there. Okay, you can't see it. Of course, she can see it because there is no time. So she's already in this future time, still working with me somehow. Oh yeah, she's saying this little girl that's coming, she's kind of like becomes her godmother or something like that. She'll be a guide for her too. So my daughter coming will have a relationship with Katrina from spirit. So it's like crazy things that you can't imagine. Okay, so that's what I see for our future. Now the key is, let's say, for example, if every single person who was watching us talk would for 1 minute all stop and all try to visualize this wonderful future right now in this moment. The geometric power of our thoughts and our imagination, we could make it happen like that. This is how powerful that we are. So this is why I say to everyone watching, stay positive. Try to give hope to your friends and your family. Don't give your power away to all the lies that were being talked about, like this war that happened with Palestine and Israel. Total lies. They didn't tell you the truth of what's happening in the Ukraine. Total lies. They haven't told you what's happening there. The election here in the United States, totally stolen and fake. But the White Hats and Alliance wanted it to go that way so people could start to wake up and see. I mean, what has Biden done for my country? Absolutely nothing. There is nothing good he's done. All he
Mhm.
does is fumble and make mistakes. And, so people just have to wake up. But we're so close to major things happening of a positive nature. It's impossible that it's not going this way. Okay? It's impossible. Nothing can stop it. And that's what is said on Telegram all the time. Okay, so unless you have something else to say, I'm going to move to Tartaria
Yeah, yeah,
now.
yeah. Only one little thing. When
Okay.
Joshua says, invite you to visualize the future, I suggest visualize what he said before. What makes your heart sing? Because sometimes you get really lost trying when we start visualizing, since we ignore many things. Let's say we want to visualize how to fix United States or how to fix the war. Since we ignore the details, we more likely you will get frustrated overthinking about it. But if you focused on what makes your heart sing, that could be having a daughter, or I don't know, working in a spiritual center, or walking in the street and seeing more green, like things that maybe you think is not relevant or not important, but it is. It is. Is that what makes your heart sing? To see more trees outside or to smile more at people? Focus on that. Continue, Joshua. Sorry for interrupting,
No,
but I
no,
just
it's
want to
not.
highlight that little bit.
No, this is your show. It's important for people to hear from you also. So, okay, so now we're moving towards Tartaria.
Vegetarians.
Okay. Now, Tartaria has to do with our history, our past. Um, how do I want to say this? Okay, I'll start this way. Thank you, Katrina. So I was on Telegram and I saw Putin, the president of Russia. He was speaking in Russian, but they were translating him. But he had a map behind him. And on this map behind him was what looked like Russia, but it didn't say Russia. It said the Great Tartaria. And he was even referencing it. Well, what was he talking about? None of us have ever heard of Tartaria, right? We didn't teach us about this in school. So where's it coming from? Well, actually, it was Katrina who brought this to my attention several years ago because she was talking to her best friend. And her best friend apparently has started looking into Tartaria and discovered that there was, now um, this is a controversial subject. This is a subject that I forget what it's called. There's a psychological condition where if you hear something and you just can't accept it, even though it may be true, you'll totally deny it, you know? So some of you may feel like this, but I believe that if you do the research, if you go online and you look on about Tartaria, if you go on Telegram, there are actually channels about Tartaria that have the most amazing information you can imagine. So Tartaria is a advanced civilization of humans that existed only 200 some years ago. Okay, now what proof or what evidence do we have that such a civilization couldn't have existed? Because there's no discussion about it, etc. So here's the clues that I bring to your attention. Of course, I have a free ebook too, which not only talks about it, but it has a lot of links to online sources that you can look at. The buildings that are left, like for example, how about the Great Wall of China? What have they told us about how it was created? This is a very advanced structure. I don't know, even with our modern technology today, if we could duplicate such a structure as the Great Wall of China. Could this not have been built by a very advanced civilization in the past? Well, some people might say, well, then you're probably talking about Atlantis or Lemuria, right? No, I'm talking about 200 some years ago. And we don't know how many years prior to that these people existed. We just know that it kind of ended. So there are churches, cathedrals, the Arc of Triumph in Paris is a very advanced structure. And if you look at it from above, it looks like the whole city of Paris, which surrounds this, looks like a circuit board because the Tartarians had a very advanced civilization and they were able to extract energy from the air for free energy and broadcast it everywhere. So let's call them the elite, if you will. They know that the Tartarians existed and they said, we will get rid of all evidence of their existence. So now I take you to, because I was born in Chicago, Chicago's World's Fair in 1893. There's a lot of crazy things that happened at that World's Fair that make no sense whatsoever. So what they tell us is there were like these 100 advanced, beautiful buildings that they have on the south side of Chicago, that in 2 to 3 years they were able to construct all of it. And none of these buildings have any kind of architecture that looks like it comes from the United States. It looks like Roman, Greek, from ancient civilizations. Um, with the technology they had in 1893, I don't know any way possible how they could have made all these buildings and then 6 months after it's over, they destroyed all but three of them. And those three buildings that are left, I've been in because I was born in Chicago. The Museum of Science and Industry, the Field Museum, and the Art Museum, plus also the football field, which is called Soldiers Field. I think it was Tartarian too, because it has all these columns and everything. There is no other football stadium I know that looks like this.
Sorry, so Joshua, who are the Tartarians? Where they come from?
Well, because they've eliminated all history, we don't know exactly where did they come from,
They
but
were humans, like the Atlanteans.
they were humans, but they
Uh-huh.
were tall. Now, one
Ah,
thing I've
yes.
seen, okay, is like in the late 1800s, early 1900s, I've seen video where there's, normal people like our height, and all of a sudden there's these giants like twice as tall as an average person walking amongst them. So the explanation we're given, oh, these were people who had a mutation. Okay, they had some disease, so they grew tall. No, they were the descendants of the Tartarians because when you go to their buildings, the doors are huge. Why would they create a place with such a huge door if we're not that tall? It's because the Tartarians made them. Okay. So our cathedrals, our churches, our government buildings were repurposed, but they actually were Tartarian buildings with devices inside that was able to pull that energy, free energy from the air through the electromagnetic energies. And there's another term for the energy of the earth, and I forget what it's called. I don't know why I keep it starts with a
Telluric?
T.
Telluric energy?
Yes, it has to do with that too. Okay, those frequencies are natural energies of our world, and the Tartarians knew how to link into them and then send it out for free everywhere. Okay, so a lot of buildings that have kind of an antenna, even with a supposedly religious symbol on top, those were antennas that were able to receive the energy. There was a device that converted it and sent it. So of course, the elite got rid of all those advanced devices that were in the buildings. Except again, I saw on Telegram, there was one building where it kept sparking at the antenna. Like every 10 seconds, it would spark. So this was a sign that they did not get rid of the device in that particular building. Now, another strange thing that comes up around Tartaria, besides old maps that show Tartaria in Russia and China, okay, is orphan children's that show up in the 1800s everywhere. There are pictures that I've seen of very large cities, especially in Europe, like in
Hmm.
Russia and other Eastern European countries, where all the buildings are there, but there's no people and it's daylight. It's impossible. Like St. Petersburg, which is a
Hmm.
huge city in Russia, there's a picture showing all the buildings, but no people are walking around. And then all of a sudden, like in the 1800s, in the 1880s, 1890s, all of a sudden there's people there, but now they're with very primitive technology, buggy and wagons to drive. And a lot of them are digging these buildings out because there's all this mud around them. So the Tartarian experts say that what happened is somehow there was this huge flood of the world, which eliminated the Tartarians but left their buildings. So, like for example, there are buildings all over the world where the bottom floor, the window is half above the ground and half below the ground. Who would make a building like this? It doesn't make any sense. It's because there was this flood and they didn't dig that building totally out. They just left it because there were too many buildings to dig out. Here where I live in Florida, If we go to St. Augustine, which is supposed to be the oldest city in the United States that supposedly was organized by people from Europe, you can see in downtown, there still are these buildings with antennas on them, and there is what's called a star fort that's in the water outside of it. Star forts is another structure that's connected to Tartaria, which are these immense forts with usually some type of water around them. How could primitive people in the 14 to the 1600s make such a building and not be high above it to see what they're doing?
What's the link you do with the Tartarian civilization and their discoveries and the destiny of humanity?
I don't have it on the webpage, so it's better people send me an email, crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com.
Because you have
And
pictures
then
in
I
there
will
as
send
well
you a
for
direct,
people to see it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, then people can see some of the buildings that people believe were Tartarian and so on. So why Tartaria is important is
Yes,
because
please.
number one, it proves the history we've been taught in school is false. Okay. And number two, it means that we are going to bring back all of the advanced technologies the Tartarians had, that there are people that already have these technologies, but they're not announcing them. And so this is more evidence for the total transformation and change of our world. This is the significance of it. Like, I'm not so sure if Tesla really invented all the things attributed to him, or was he just rediscovering the Tartarians' inventions? And he was so advanced scientifically, he knew how to work with them and so on. So this is one possible theory. Because at the Chicago World's Fair, they President Grover Cleveland hit one switch, and all these hundred some buildings were totally lit up. This is exactly the type of system that the Tartarians had. So they left it with the buildings, and then as soon as the exhibition was over, they destroyed almost all of them. And they did this in other cities too, like St. Louis and Paris as well. And all the fires that they had in these cities in the United States in the 1800s was purposely done to destroy the Tartarian buildings, to leave as little evidence as possible that these people existed. So this is why I think it's very, very important. And it is another sign that big changes are coming to our world, because this cannot be hidden. No matter how hard they tried, there are still Tartarian buildings out there that are very advanced in their architecture and also in the designs within the buildings themselves. That was done for healing purposes, for vibrational frequencies. It's very powerful and very advanced. And there's no way a primitive people could have cut all these statues and made all these special designs in the ceiling and everything. So when you look at these buildings and you understand this, you can't go back anymore. It's like you can't say, well, I believe the history I was taught. So what else have we been lied to? That's the key that Tartaria shows us. And the answer is probably almost everything that we believe to be true is not true. So
A lot for us to reflect and think after watching this interview. Um, is any message you want to share with the viewers before you go to sleep? Because it's very late
yeah,
in.
it's almost 11 o'clock for me here. Actually, I'm not tired, it just kind of energized me. Um, so I would say the main message for right now is find out what makes your heart sing, which we've already talked about. That's what you're going to be doing to help the world in the future.
Hmm.
Make sure that every day you have something to look forward to that you enjoy. Um, Make sure you also have people to talk to that have the same understanding you do. If you don't have such people, you should email me immediately, because I know more of these people all over the place. You certainly can meet them on the internet. There's so many groups out there you can join, etc. Um, Feel free again to email me, not only for the free ebooks, but if there's something I'm talking about you'd like to have a discussion, crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com. I'm happy to talk to you. I don't think, oh, Joshua's so busy. No, I'm not so busy all the time. So it's really a pleasure to meet more people or meet Soul Family. Or maybe you're interested to help me to set up a sister center for the Center of Advancement of Humanity where you are in your part of the world. You know, anything we can imagine is possible. Okay, so any dream you have, don't let it go. Hold on to it and wait and see what happens. And just keep learning. I mean, I'm 69, and I think the reason why I'm still active is because I'm constantly reading, I'm investigating, I'm exploring. I don't even think about my age. Um, and I'm never going to stop to do that. And also too, when you work with your spiritual energies, you always have a lot of energy too. So, it's not, so don't buy into the thing about if you're getting older. Old age, oh, I'm supposed to retire and do nothing and sit around.
Yeah.
No, you can be extremely active. You can educate younger people with the things that you've learned over the years, like what the indigenous elders do with their children. They constantly teach them, and the children have learned to respect them for their knowledge and information. And not think, oh, this person is old and useless. Let's just put them in a home and forget about them. No, the older people have a lot of great information and knowledge to share. So
Experience.
we're coming soon to a time of amazing miracles and peace and harmony, and all of us have a role to play in this. And it gets revealed in the exact precise right moment. So, and I'm not going to say that I fully know all the things I've come here to do. I know some of them, but I'm sure there's many more surprises to come. And if this little girl is going to come and I finally will be a father, how will that forever change my life? I think Katrina's daughter has a little baby that was born that's 3. She's training me now. Seth Ann is her name. So like anytime I see her, I know how to play with her and everything. And she's teaching me how to, work with children because they come from a different place.
And
So
Joshua,
it's,
we are supposed to live over 200 years when we begin activating the DNA.
yeah.
So I know that's controversial as well because we have created lives that told us that we were a more productive years of life happen in the 20s and 30s, and that's it.
Mhm.
But if you're open-minded like Joshua, like myself as well, then you won't struggle thinking that you may live much more than society expect from you. It's all about opening the mind and finding how to recreate yourself, even when it's hard. Because of course, like experiencing your partner passing or moving countries or changing your career, we don't like it because we love to get attached to people, to places, to ideas, to personalities of ours. But if you live 200 years, well, practicing detachment will be the word in English, like not getting too attached, but opening your soul and your
Yeah.
mind for new experiences and knowing that we remain connected forever if there's love to places and people. The multidimensionality allow us to remain connected even if we are not physically together. And but
Yeah.
anyways, I hope you come to visit us in here in Australia, not only Sydney. Come this way in WA, Joshua. You love
No,
it.
I haven't gotten to visit the western part of Australia yet, so I'm definitely planning. Plus, I need to go to what's the name of that special place in the center part of the area? It's kind of like a mountain, very sacred to the original people.
Uluru.
Uluru. Yeah, I
Uluru.
definitely want to go there as well. So I actually have a story I wrote where a character it looks like me, okay, and he goes to Uluru in the story. So I think it was like a self-prophecy. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And by
Let's
the way,
see.
Spirit also told me I would be living at least 200 years. So I still have 131 to go.
So you're still a baby.
Yeah, I'm still a baby. There's so much more I need
Me
to
too.
know. I just don't know everything, you know.
Absolutely. There's much
I
more
need the
for us to know.
Pleiadians to come teach me some things, you know. Like how do you fly your ships and everything like that? Could you teach me? Could I fly one of your ships, you know? Those kind of experiences. I'm ready for it. You know, I want to take my little girl too on the ships.
Absolutely. I want to go too for traveling with you around the universe.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
we'll set it
Joshua.
up.
Thank you so much for tonight's chat and for us to enjoy of your presence here for this connection between the American continent and Australian continent. Thank you, Portal de Luz. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you, everyone else who joined us today. And I wish you a beautiful solstice if you are in the lands of Joshua. Summer is opening, getting active, activating that Aries energy. If you here, you will get more introverted. You will active more my energy because I'm a Pisces, so it's very different to Aries. And you will be like going deep into your own inner realms that both are very enlightening experiences. So I celebrate that. Thank you so much. And I see you next time, Joshua.
Okay, thank you so much. God
Thank
bless
you.
everyone.